complimentary to Cody last year, and then we talked to Hugh, over the weekend, and he said he's gonna be the #1 guy when OTA start. Do you agree with that? And have you seen any change in him since last year?
Well, I'm not a good quarterback evaluator, so I'm not going to change that now because I really don't know a lot about the position, but I think that's probably the right move. Cody did an amazing job as a rookie third rounder, really didn't get a lot of opportunity with the first unit until he got thrown into the fire in the middle of the season. And I thought he did a great job, and I've seen improvement to the untrained eye already this spring. And so I think giving him the job right now, or at least putting him in the one slot right now, is a great move by Hugh.
So what do you think? Do you have any first impressions of Myles Garrett? He said you guys have been talking.
Yeah, I'm just impressed with his demeanor and his willingness to learn and his humbleness, but you see that fire that's burning inside him to be great. And I think those are the hallmarks of guys that have a chance to be really excellent football players.
Joe, any thoughts on Jabril Peppers thus far?
To be honest, I guess I didn't see him out there today because I'm usually watching the offense. So I didn't see him much yet.
Joe, are you looking forward to maybe teaching Myles a few lessons? Off the edge?
It'll be fun. I'm sure he's got a lot of energy and athleticism, which is something you lose when you get older. So it'll be a good battle, I'm sure, in training camp.
How much can he benefit from going up against a guy like you?
Well, I think just like the old adage, you play against good competition and you're going to get better. Hopefully I'm still good competition for him at this stage in my career, but I think having a good competitive battle, and that can only be good for him. But also he's shown an interest in learning, and I'm a player that really likes to try to help teach and impart any wisdom that I've gotten over the ages on some of those young guys. So it'll be fun for me too to be able to try to help him as best as I can and try to get him to think like an offensive tackle and hopefully turn him into the great player that he can be.
I think it was on Dan Patrick. You went on there a couple months ago before the draft and said, I think you got to take the pass rusher. Were you talking about Myles now that's over and done with? Was that who you were thinking of?
I guess at that point, still to this day, I don't really follow the draft in detail like a lot of people where they scout players and everything, but he clearly became the consensus #1 pick. And I was excited to take a pass rusher because it's an impactful player at a position of need, and I think sometimes people reach for a quarterback at #1 and then it takes a long time to develop them, and if they don't have the right system and the right people in place around them, sometimes it's hard for them to have that success because you are going to the worst team in football usually when you're the #1 pick. So for us, I think it was a no-brainer to go and draft a pass rusher, and Myles became that clear choice.
Have you spent any time with Kizer yet?
I just met him a couple times, and he seems like a really nice, humble kid, and I think he'll fit in really well.
Joe, the word coach mistakenly associated with you a little early on this week. Being around the high school kids, does that give you any itch to try and depart some wisdom?
Well, I'm a fan of coaching. I do like to try to teach kids and teach young adults, young men. And so there's a chance someday that I get into coaching, but I haven't thought too much about it yet.
Did you talk to Jabril? I mean, you were tweeting about him when the dilute.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to talk to him about that?
No, we went to dinner on Thursday with all the rookies and just kind of got a chance to briefly meet him, but I haven't had a chance to discuss his dilute sample.
I mean, is that even something you would discuss?
If he had interest in talking about it, I guess we'd talk about it, but I'm sure we're probably on the same page, so there's probably not a whole lot to discuss.
So the gist of it is, and I know you tweeted something about it, but a tweet's only so many characters.
Sure,
so
sure.
You've had that experience with the diluted sample?
So basically, I think the 40,000-foot view from my perspective is that the NFL's drug testing protocol is not uniform across all parts because, for instance, like we get drug tested 10, 15 times during the season, and if we ever have a dilute sample, so the process goes, you give them the sample, they have a little testing meter in their hand, they put some of the sample on their meter, and it says if it's too dilute to test, then they just make you retest. And so you just wait until you have to go to the bathroom again, and you come back and you give another sample. And it's a very simple, easy process that is nothing nefarious involved. But for some reason at the combine, it's you give them a sample and they don't test it in front of you for specific gravity and pH, which are the two things that they test. And so I don't know why they wouldn't do that, because then you have an instance where you have a player that's dilute, which is technically a negative, but it doesn't really tell you anything that you wanted to find out in the first place. A drug test, you give them a drug test because you want to know if they've taken the drugs you're testing for or if they haven't. And if you don't test it, which is what a dilute is, that's like an incomplete on an exam. You don't even know what was in his system, and so the coaches don't know if he was using those drugs. The NFL doesn't know, and they don't know if he wasn't. Why wouldn't you just test him again is basically the bottom line. Right. It just seems like a flawed system that just needs to get fixed.
All right, guys, we got to stop here.